Hello and welcome. It's Thursday the 20th of January 2021 and that means it's time for the 70th edition of the Etch Play weekly live show. That noise you can hear is Ben Joy on the phone rustling around in the background. We are here to give you all the latest games industry news, and there's some pretty big news this week which we'll be talking about. So I've assembled the Etch Play Avengers on the phone. We've got Tyre. Say hello, Tyre.
Hello.
And we've got Ben Joy. Say hello, Ben.
Hello, Ben.
They're going to be talking with me about the big news story of the week, and we're also going to try and play some Anacrusis in a bit, but we're having some technical difficulties with that, so we'll see. It might just be me playing and these guys watching. Hello in the chat to Miles and Emma. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate your time. Tyre and Ben, are you ready to get started?
Yep,
Yay.
Let's do it.
There really is only one possible place to start this week, and that is with possibly the biggest entertainment news story of all time. Microsoft is buying Activision Blizzard, and along with it they will get a massive list of franchises such as Call of Duty, World of Warcraft, Crash Bandicoot, Candy Crush, Overwatch, Guitar Hero, Tony Hawk, and many, many more. Too many to even realistically list. Like, if I was just going to read the Wikipedia list of all the Activision Blizzard games that Microsoft's getting in this deal, we would be here all day. Apparently it's going to cost $68.7 billion US dollars to be accurate, which completely obliterates the previous record we had, which is actually, we told you about it last week on the show, was Take-Two acquiring Zynga for $12.7 billion. That seemed enormous at the time, and now it seems tiny in comparison. The scale of this deal is absolutely insurmountably huge. Like, the only deal in entertainment history which was bigger was Disney acquiring Fox, which, given the growth of the games industry, arguably means that this is the biggest deal ever, because films are declining, games are growing. Activision's share price has been trending downward over the last year. Activision has also been the subject of immense public criticism since a July lawsuit by the California Department of Fair Employment and Housing alleged pervasive gender discrimination at the publisher. And there's been a lot of allegations on Twitter and other places as well of sexual harassment. We've talked about that on the show extensively. And we're going to talk about that again in a minute. Because the deal, frankly, I mean, it raises a huge number of questions, and the first one on many people's lips is, what does this mean for Bobby Kotick, who is the CEO of Activision? The press releases so far say that he'll be held on to at least until the deal is completed, which is expected to take quite some time, so probably until June 2023 at the earliest we're expecting this deal to close. But he has been under fire, and many believe that once the ink is dry, he'll be gone. Until the deal is complete, Microsoft legally can't interfere. You're not allowed to buy someone and then mess with their share price by saying, oh, I'm going to fire him. So they're going to have to keep quiet for a little while. But a lot of speculation about Bobby and his future with the company. Tyre, what do you make of this?
I think it's definitely an interesting question, because for many people that was the first question that they asked, what's going to happen to Bobby Kotick? As you say, he's been under a lot of fire recently, and rightfully so. Microsoft can't comment, and neither can he, on what his future is because of the way that it will affect share prices. But reading between the lines, I think the official position is that he probably will not be staying.
Yeah.
That's just Ben making sounds again. So
yeah, Ben, is Ben eating a bag of Doritos or something? You've turned the cameras off for this week, and Ben's just taking full advantage.
I'm trying to sit as still as I can.
So it's a good thing really that Bobby's going, because people want to see him gone. He's directly responsible for a lot of this negative PR, but also obviously the impacts of the things that have caused that negative PR. A lot of people have severe grievances with him, but it's just a little bit too soon to say, isn't it?
Yes, for sure, and we will see kind of how it plays out. I think rumours is that he will be leaving, but even as he's leaving, his payout will be fairly sizable, as you would expect of a senior person of his stature. And I know a lot of people are kind of upset about that fact, which completely is understandable. I think, as we were saying kind of earlier, at the end of the day, for him, a couple of $1 million is just pocket change. And really the major thing that's going to be his legacy is a not very good year for Activision Blizzard, which is probably not something that anyone would want to leave with.
Yeah. Hello in the chat to Tony. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate it. We're just talking about Activision Blizzard, as you might have guessed from all the Bobby talk. The next question we want to talk about is about Game Pass. So Microsoft is promising that many Activision Blizzard titles will come to Game Pass, and there are a lot of Activision Blizzard titles out there. Is Game Pass going to become too big? Like, will Microsoft continue to court indies when they have this many huge franchises under their belt? Like, they're going to be launching so many games all the time directly onto Game Pass. It's going to become crazy, isn't it, Ben? Like, how's this going to work?
Yeah, it's going to be insane. From a consumer point of view, it's incredibly exciting. I think, to have the opportunity to have those games come onto Game Pass, and more are coming on day one releases, so you would think probably things like Call of Duty might become day one releases. But I think if you're in the industry, it's probably quite a nervous time if you're a developer, because, Game Pass is great if you're on it, but the more and more games that go on it, the budget is only going to go so far for Microsoft, so offers might get worse if you're on it and your offer's worse, and then people aren't buying your game because it's on Game Pass. That's going to be difficult. You're potentially going to have a discoverability issue start to come up on Game Pass if you're one of the smaller titles, because everyone will naturally, the vast majority will flood to the likes of Crash Bandicoot and Call of Duty and the big names and the big AAA games that they know about, that they now potentially don't have to pay 60, 70, 80 quid for. They can pay £10 a month and play them as much as they want. So, yeah, I think it is going to be nervous times for a lot of people with Game Pass. And, who knows whether Microsoft have even got an end game for Game Pass. It's great for consumers, but whether it's the right thing for the industry, I think remains to be seen. I think we're too early doors to really know that answer and what's going to happen. But can it get too big? Yeah, there is definitely potential that it could get too big at the moment. But I think that would be an issue for developers and for Microsoft themselves, not for players. As far as players are concerned, give me as much content for as little amount of money as you possibly can. But whether that's sustainable will remain to be seen.
Yeah, and we talked a little bit there about things getting too big, and there is legal issues around this. Will this even go through legally? The scale of this deal is so huge, there is bound to be some legal scrutiny. Most outlets are expecting it to go through. While it is massive consolidation, it's not, the be-all and end-all of games. Is huge, but Tencent would still be bigger. They've bought lots of people. Sony's gaming division would still be technically bigger than Microsoft's. And Microsoft will, of course, point out to the courts there are significant competition from places like Steam and Nintendo, as well as on mobile. And I want to talk about mobile a little bit, because this is a really interesting aspect of the deal. King is a huge mobile developer, developing the Candy Crush saga and other Candy Crush games. This is the first time that Microsoft have really invested heavily in a mobile developer as well. I know it might just be a freebie, it might just be like, we're buying Activision Blizzard, the mobile games are a bonus. But you could look at this and say this is maybe even a change in strategy for Microsoft to actually broaden their horizons in terms of the platforms they're looking at and to focus more on mobile. What do you guys reckon to that? Let's ask you first, Tyre.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. I think that's one thing that potentially hasn't been focused on as heavily, because everyone's like, oh, Call of Duty, Crash Bandicoot, these amazing franchises. But actually, Candy Crush is one of the first kind of mobile apps to generate over $1 billion of revenue. So it is a big name in itself in a slightly different market to what Microsoft has dabbled in before. But I think it's really interesting. It makes commercial sense as well, and I'm really interested to see what they are going to do with that new studio under their belt and how they might kind of move into the mobile sector more as they go. Yeah,
it's definitely a real foothold, isn't it? Ben, did you want to add to that, or shall I move on to the next question?
Yeah, I think it's kind of in the middle of the road from what you were saying. I don't think it's a complete change in strategy for Microsoft, but I also don't think it'll be treated as, oh, this is a freebie bonus, this is great. I think it would have been heavily considered in the decision to make the purchase, and definitely a massive consideration in the value and pricing of the deal. Microsoft, I think they've dipped their toes in. I think they've bought a couple of smaller mobile mobile studios, but this obviously acquiring King is on just a different level. And I think, why would they not want to get into mobile gaming? It's one of the biggest, if not the biggest, booming area in the industry. It grows massively. The barrier to entry to get games in people's hands is arguably smaller than on console and PC. So, yeah, I think it's a shrewd bit of business, and definitely adding mobile significantly to Microsoft's portfolio is definitely something that would have crossed their minds and not just be treated as this is a bit of a bonus.
Yeah. And I guess one question that gamers will have is about those games themselves. Will games like Call of Duty, Overwatch, future editions of these franchises that people know and love, are they going to become Xbox console exclusive? We do expect, of course, that Xbox-owned games will continue to come to the PC. Microsoft have also published some titles, like Minecraft, for example, on Nintendo Switch. So the door's not entirely closed to these things being on other platforms, but you don't spend nearly $70 billion and not have some sort of exclusivity in mind. Do you, Tyre?
Yeah, I think it's really, really interesting. And I think, again, it's something that we'll need to see, because there'll be reasons for both sides. I think what they might do is they'll test the waters first of all, because they're not they know their business, they know exactly what's going to work, but they always want to start slow. What I'm really interested in is how subscription games within that bracket, like World of Warcraft, are going to work on Games Pass, even if they do make an appearance, because that's quite as far as I'm aware, and I don't use Game Pass as often, there's no such thing on there at the moment in terms of subscriptions. So that might be an interesting model.
Yeah, it tends to be that games, you'll have like a tiered system, so you'd get you can play it for free, but they want you to still subscribe to get more out of the game, to unlock more items, abilities, and those sorts of things. So I think something like World of Warcraft obviously wasn't designed exactly with that in mind, and who knows what the future of WoW is. WoW has started to decline a bit in recent years. Final Fantasy 14 has taken a large part of their market share recently, but yeah, definitely a fascinating time for games in general. And it's whether you think this is a good deal or not. I think everyone agrees it's good business for Microsoft. What people aren't as sure about is whether long term it'll be a good thing for all of us to have the industry consolidate around just a few handful of massive companies. But definitely a huge sea change, absolutely seismic in terms of the games industry. Changes the face of things, really. So we'll keep reporting on this as we hear more about it. It's definitely going to be a developing story over the next couple of years.
I tell you what will be interesting is what happens next with Sony, because Sony don't really have anywhere they can go. They're not going to be able to buy anyone to the level of Activision Blizzard realistically. Is there anyone even as big that they could buy? But what potentially we could see happen, and would be incredibly interesting, is rather than Sony going out and trying to buy someone, it's Sony trying to buddy up with someone bigger than them, going to a Google, going to an Amazon, and that was potentially their only option. And if that's going to happen, Sony is not worth what it was worth 3 days ago. So if that's going to happen, you might see wheels in motion happen quite quickly on that, and that would really be interesting for the industry to see what happens there. But Sony are not going to. They're not going to go cap in hand to anyone because they're still incredibly valuable, but it might be a way that Amazon can really supercharge their efforts into gaming. Obviously, they have Twitch, and they're dabbling in games. That buddying up with Sony might be good for them. They can get it at a cheaper price, and they can get all of the knowledge and tech, and the people that work there now are not bargain bucket price, but definitely cheaper than they could have.
A bargain bucket of PlayStation.
Definitely cheaper than they could have got it a week ago. So I think that's going to be really interesting to see what happens next with Sony.
Speaking of, Sony is removing physical voucher cards for its PlayStation Now subscription from retail stores. These cards previously enabled players or customers to buy, top up and give subscriptions with the physical purchase rather than doing it through their console. GamesBeat broke this story. Apparently UK retailer Game leaked the memo that all the cards should be removed by Wednesday, January 19th, which was yesterday of course. And apparently in the US and Canada they began removing these cards several weeks ago. The news comes shortly after a Bloomberg report that we talked about on the show. Basically said that PlayStation is working on overhauling what PlayStation Plus really means, evaluating the subscription, adding new tiers that integrate PlayStation Now's library and a retro catalogue as part of efforts to compete with Xbox Game Pass. That's expected to launch this spring. It's expected to be quite soon. But yeah, I got to imagine that there was some interesting discussions at Sony HQ on the day that this Microsoft news broke, because obviously it puts them on the back foot severely, I think, from a library perspective and from a market cap perspective as well. You're right, it wiped millions off their market cap overnight, which obviously we expect they will probably recover that, hopefully. But it's that just shows you how big this is. You know, it could really swing the nature of the industry. There's been a few key moments in games history where big companies have entered or left the space. You think about the dissolution of Sega into what they are today compared to what they used to be, and things like that. But this is potentially massive for years to come. I think that's probably it for the news. We could talk about more news, but we have been doing it for about 15 minutes, and I don't want to talk about it forever. What I do want to do is try and play the Anacrusis. So, the Anacrusis is a new game that's just come to Game Pass, actually. It is a Left 4 Dead-like, I would say, and it has a bit of a different aesthetic, though. Let me just see if I can bring this up for you, and then we can play it together. How about that? I'm in the game.
Just like EA Sports.
Okay, here we go. Let's see if I can get back to the main menu. I've been joined in the party by Ben Joy.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be joined by Ty because she can't get the game to work.
I'm gutted. This is such a good game.
So let's start loading into episode 1, Signs of Life. So much like Left 4 Dead, this is a 4-player experience. Best played with friends because it requires a lot of teamwork. We're going to be joined by potentially 2 random strangers here, which we didn't really plan for. Originally, Dan was supposed to be here. There's going to be 4 of us all playing together, and then life gets in the way.
It all fell apart.
Yeah, as it often does on the X-Play Weekly live show, things didn't go to plan. So instead, me and Ben are going to give it a go and see what we end up with. But each level basically tasks you with getting from point A to point B, shooting hordes of aliens along the way, which are controlled by an AI director who sends waves of enemies, sometimes massive waves of enemies, to try and keep things interesting. It's kind of constantly monitoring you and figuring out whether you're finding it too easy or whether you're finding it hard, to make the gameplay more balanced. We found this game really difficult the other day, didn't we, when we first tried it? I think we did get quite a lot better towards the end, but we might have forgotten all that, and it's going to be quite difficult to talk during this. But I thought while we did play it, we would see if maybe, Ty's not playing. Ben, you've been doing some thinking recently about early access, and this is an early access title. It's a game preview on Xbox. Whether we should have a little chat about early access games and that kind of whole strategy, I guess.
Yeah, so essentially what this is this one's on Game Pass, so you don't have to pay for it, but you can. So a game preview on Xbox is basically, it's a game that isn't finished, but you can buy it and you can play it with the understanding that it isn't finished. So it's kind of like, almost like a paid for beta test, really, is essentially what it is. So I guess when you get to doing this as a developer, sorry, they were just getting shot, so I'm not doing anything about it. You need to really decide whether you want to go ahead with this, because obviously you can run beta tests and you can keep them free, which might get more people in playing them. Whereas if you do it this way, then you can. This is really difficult to talk while you're playing the game, Rana. Because what these aren't meant to be is they're not supposed to be. It's not supposed to be crowdfunding. It's not supposed to keep your runway going. It really is to generate feedback. So really, you don't want to be putting a game out here which is it's just not playable. Really, what you want to be is ideally as far to finished as you can be, so you can get some real player feedback, understand how they play the game, understand what they like, what they don't like, and kind of take it from there and grow the game. So when you do a game preview on Xbox, what you have to do, I don't know how enforced this is, you're supposed to commit to having an open forum. that is accessed via your website, so that players can give you feedback and you can work on improving it and getting that feedback. So essentially, it's not an excuse for you to release an unfinished game so you can start making money and not do anything about it. It's not intended to. Oh dear. It's not intended to be that. And a lot of the games are typically that feedback channel will be Discord. It's kind of what Discord has become great for, building a community and letting the developers speak directly to the community as well as the community speaking to themselves. So that's an element that needs to be taken into account. At the moment, from what I could see, I think there's six or seven games on Xbox that are a game preview. So you have this that we're playing at the moment. Grounded, which has been an early access game on Game Pass for quite a while. And you also have Second Extinction, which me and Adam checked out a while ago, which is still a game preview on Game Pass. And then there's 3 you can buy: Ooblet, Atlas, and Session, which is a skateboarding sim. So I guess as a consumer, what you need to weigh up is, do you want to buy a game that you know isn't finished and potentially won't be finished? Ideally it would be, and there will be some due diligence, I'm sure, that goes into selecting a game that Microsoft or Steam, if it is early access, believes will actually get finished. But that's a risk you take with early access, and you know what you're getting. On Xbox, they specifically put a warning label on it saying this isn't finished. So just bear in mind what you're buying will have issues. It might not get finished. It might change significantly. So just bear that in mind.
Where are you, Ben? Because you were talking for a long time and you were kind of getting left behind by the group.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah.
I'm trying to catch up now. It is so much harder to try and survive in this game, I'm told, than I expected it to be. Oh, there you are.
Let's do this. So far, pretty easy ride. I'm having a little bit of lag, but nothing I can't handle. Not sure if that's coming through on the stream or not. Actually, the stream looks even worse.
This is pretty tame. When we played this the other day, we were getting absolutely hammered. Like this, I think we're about to get hammered. Yeah, the fire's here. So these guys are all going to set on fire and run at us, which is not ideal. So I'm just going to run up here.
Oh no, not the flasher.
Yeah, the flasher is so much worse than what we would consider a flasher to be.
I mean, is that the case? I don't think we would.
I mean, this guy sets everything on fire.
No, he just makes it really bright.
Oh, I thought he brought the fire.
Really bright.
Oh, okay, yeah, he's not as bad as a real life flasher then. I thought he did the fire as well. So as I was alluding to, like, game preview, it isn't just it's not just limited to Xbox. Essentially it's on Steam as well, but it's called early access on Steam, and I think there's a lot more early access titles on Steam than there is game preview on the Xbox. Oh, there he is, the flasher. Uh-oh.
There's a goo monster somewhere.
Yeah, I've been gooed.
Oh man, it means it's all down to me.
Yeah.
You only have a pistol left.
Yeah, hang on, I just charged my gun now, so I should be back in action. Just need to find a way to...
I'm on fire and gooed. I don't know how I'm still alive, to be honest. I'm going to be dead pretty soon.
Doing what I can, but everything's on fire.
Yeah, I'm dead. Oh no, I'm not. I'm still slightly alive. Oh, I'm ungooed at least. I just need helping up.
I'm coming.
So there's been some pretty good stories for games that have gone through this process. So going back a few years, Subnautica went through this process. They were an early access game on Steam, and they were known for having a really good open communication channel with their players through Discord. And what they also had was they had a live Trello board that users could go go and see what was being worked on and see how their feedback essentially was being taken on board and being brought into the game. There was another game which was back in like 2016, I think it was, maybe a bit earlier, called Don't Starve. And essentially what they did was they went into early access and they went into early access for a while, and essentially they just kept deploying update after update and update as they kept on working on the game. They were themed updates, so they were almost like treated like free DLC really, to grow the game, and that did really well. So it definitely works, but what this shouldn't be, as I said earlier, it's not to build a runway. It really is to get that player feedback and not just an excuse to start generating some money while you're not finished. That's for sure. And also, what's worth noting as well, like it's not necessarily going to be like a silver bullet for you. Something that developers should bear in mind, and this is Steam data from Simon Carless. Like they found that from their research that typically an early access launch will do 50% less than a full game launch. So that's something to bear in mind as well. Obviously, once you come out in full, you do have the full launch as well. But you should bear in mind that it's going to be less, and there will be some level of expectation from your players to get the game finished, because they're paying for it essentially. So what you don't want to do is have people buying your game that you essentially just don't finish or you don't put the effort into. And I'm down, by the way, Adam, if you can find me.
Where are you?
I have no idea.
Where did you go?
I didn't really move very far. I was trying to shoot people, stay alive, read my notes, and follow the group, which was really difficult. I mean, it's alright. Ewan's helping me out.
Ewan's done as well. Tyre is here. You can stop talking and let her talk if you want.
I'm just waiting for a gap.
Alright, Tyre, take it away.
Oh god, I regret that now. No, I think you're completely right. Early access is a really interesting thing because it can be really a successful part of your development and your marketing, but it can also come with a lot of challenges. What I think we can see kind of with the development of early access is when it kind of became a thing a while ago, you know, back with Steam Greenlight and all of those kind of initiatives. It was still a fairly rare thing that a game would go into early access, and in those days it was quite a newsworthy thing. So, you know, if your game went into early access, it was much easier to kind of get press to talk about it, to do some marketing, etc. Whereas since that time, what we've seen is that some people have really wanted to take advantage of this and make a quick buck, and what we find is that players and press and kind of marketing people in general have been burnt by, like you said, Ben, you know, someone making a fairly passable kind of early access, getting loads of money, and then running off without ever actually finishing the game. So nowadays, players are a lot more savvy. You know, they're a lot more expectant of what an early access can be. So what we would probably recommend is, you know, you wouldn't want to go to early access with a game that needs a lot of work, unless you're willing to be in early access for years, and if your audience is willing for that, because often they will not wait for years, they will just leave if no progress is being made. So it has to be thought quite carefully about. You know, it's not a way to just get to the end of a game. You have to think about how it's going to affect your overall development, your marketing strategy, what kind of, you know, monetary influence you have to put into it, because like we kind of always say, you know, early access can be quite good financially to help you kind of optimize your game, but you really shouldn't be looking at it as a crowdfunding place to make enough money to finish the game. Because, you know, if you put all your eggs in one basket and the early access doesn't work out, then people that did kind of give you a bit of time and money, they're going to be very disappointed if you were expecting a lot of cash to be able to finish the game and then you can't. Then you're kind of drop off the face of the planet. So yeah, it's really interesting. The history of early access is really interesting. So I definitely recommend, if you're interested in that, to go read up more about it, because it can be challenging. It can be part of your strategy quite well. I've done some previous life strategies for early access games, and it's not as simple as just putting a game on somewhere and then waiting for the money to roll in. Unfortunately.
Ben, where are you?
I have no idea.
What is wrong with you? You've played this. Why
I know,
are you a million miles away?
I was so distracted while I was talking that I just
That was
totally
ages
got
ago.
separate. I know.
We came back and got you
ever since.
We came back
I know,
and
but
got you.
then I carried on talking, and I just
You weren't talking. Ty was talking.
I'm stuck with a stupid AI, and I just cannot find where I'm supposed to be.
Screw you. I'm moving
Is the
forward.
AI following you, or
Yeah,
you
the
following
AI's
the
following
AI?
you, mate.
Well, he should be showing me the way. Like, I've just no idea where to go. I can't remember how to open a door. I'm not going to lie.
Door?
Yeah,
door?
like...
I don't think there are doors you can open, apart from the exit door, which I am very near, actually.
Yeah, I
leave
just
Ben
don't
behind.
I mean, he's had his chance.
Hey. Yeah. First, I'm going to throw this. That's called a vortex grenade.
I'm just shooting this guy because he's doing my head in.
You're shooting our teammate. What? Poor Guon.
He's not helped. He hasn't helped.
I mean, he's not real, so...
I literally just do not know where I'm supposed to be going.
This is a big scary room where there's just too many of the big guys.
We're leaving Ben behind. See you later, Ben.
Bye.
Before we
go
go...
on his own adventure.
Ben's just doing his own thing. Ben, I'm just going to say, stay in this room. Mexplode might come back and save you, but I'm not going to, because I'm going to tell the folks home about our Game for Good story for this week, which is our belief that games can be a powerful force for good, you know? We believe in games, we think games are a great thing, and I wanted to share with you guys that this week Sports Interactive announced a new milestone for their charitable initiatives, which is cool. Give me a second just to transition away from the game a second here, otherwise that's going to distract me.
I found where I'm supposed to be going.
In 2020, Sports Interactive, who are the developers of Football Manager, served more than 110 million adverts for their charity partners around the pitch in Football Manager games. So when you're playing games of Football Manager, the sideboards at the edges, you know, that have advertisements on them for products and stuff, they've basically given them to charities, so you can advertise charities in the game. In 2021, which was last year, they served more than 170 million adverts for charity partners. So they've increased that by 60 million year on year. So good work to everyone at Sports Interactive. Great initiative, fantastic idea. We love to see charities being helped, and we think it's a really innovative way of helping them as well. Really, really good idea. I can hear someone being shot.
I'm down.
Someone's down. But that's the end of our show. I want to thank Taya and Ben J for joining me for this very special episode of the Weekly Live Show, and we'll be back next week at 4 PM right here. If you don't follow us yet, make sure to follow us on Twitch, on Twitter, on YouTube, anywhere you like.